Uplift Weekly. This is Shari Strong with Soar.com, and we are excited. It is March 11th, 2021, and we are excited about today's episode. Thank you to everyone who has been joining us every week, and especially those who are listening on the Soar audio app. If you've downloaded that, we know that you've been listening there, or on our YouTube channel. You can go look up Soar YouTube channel and watch the replay there. We've had great following, and we appreciate that. And on that note, if you have ideas, Coach Uplift Weekly, what we strive to do here is provide tips, tools, resources, best practices when it comes to coaching, and how to go into organizations and coach, or individuals and coach. And we've offered just tips, and I've done those myself, or we have special guests. And this week, I am very excited about our guest and what he's going to be sharing with us today. So feel free to chat. I did make this a meeting this week instead of the normal webinar, just because we've been having fun with this. And if you want to go ahead and chat, please do so. Keep yourselves muted until he asks for questions. But I'm going to do a brief introduction of our guest today, and then I'm going to hand it over to him and let him tell a little bit more about himself. But today we're going to be really focusing on the Heart-Based Institute, where they talk about being a heart-centered coach. But today is Derick Carter. He's a director at the Heart-Based Institute. He's been coaching organizations, individuals. He's got a great story, which we're going to get into a little bit here before we go into a practice. He's led an organization that had 130 people, I think, something like that. Derick, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. He's piloted, curriculums for individuals, teams, and we met through Soar and at his coaching business, and we just got to talking. He was telling me everything that he does and how he approaches coaching, and it just touched me so much that I was like, you need to be a guest on Coach Uplift Weekly. So that's how we got here. So with that, he lives outside the DC area, but Derick, why don't you go ahead, unmute yourself, and then just, what did I miss? Tell everybody a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Sure. You got most of it. There's a little bit of changes in there, so I'll share them as we go ahead. But no, first, thank you for having me as a guest, and thank you everyone for being here. I'll share a little bit about my story. Now, I came out of school, I got into management consulting, and if you've been in that environment, it's a very fast-paced environment. You kind of like, they throw you in there and you just start working. And I became very successful in that environment, so much so that after a few years, I decided, like, hey, you know what? I could do this on my own.
Right.
And so I went ahead and did that. And when I went ahead and did that, long story short, I found myself like in a rut. I found myself like, oh, I'm on this train. I didn't want to be on this train anymore. And through that, I kind of...
How long ago was that, Derick?
Whoa, that was a long time ago. That was maybe 20 years ago or something like that. Yeah. So long story short, like many folks, I experienced burnout. I didn't recognize it as burnout at that point in time. And I got me into kind of like a new phase of my life, more of a healing phase of my life. And through that work, that's how I got introduced to coaching. And really it was kind of me learning and healing myself, and then working with others, helping them, but then recognizing like there was something missing, right? Like people were getting better, but they were still running into these patterns that would kind of resurface in their life. And I didn't call it coaching at that time, but I just recognized that there was something there that they had to talk through and get through before they can kind of get to the next evolution. So I'm going to pause there and see if you had any questions there for me.
No, that's great. And just if you're online, if you want to go ahead and chat and say where you're from, again, people are starting to hop on here, so you can put in the chat who you are, where you're from, say hi to Derick. So you've been coaching then you said 20 years?
Well, I was in the management consulting phase for about 10 years. And through that phase, I mean, you work interface with leaders and a whole bunch of people in the organization. So there's a coaching element that's natural, I think, in that phase where, you know, you don't have authority a lot of times. And so you have to kind of convince people and help share stories and help people kind of learn and grow. And so, yeah.
Awesome. Well, guess what? Hi, I have to call out Marie because she's from Spain and she's based in Germany right now. So you want to say hi to her. We've been getting more and more people internationally. I just got off the phone this morning with somebody from Finland, and she's like, I can't make it to this call, but I listen to them every week. And so welcome to everybody. Yes, and then we've got Oklahoma, Southern California. So welcome to everybody. Derick is based out of the DC area. So Derick, so you went management consulting. When did you make the switch? Because I think a lot of people do. Coaches, we understand the difference. Well, I don't even want to make that assumption. There's a lot of people who are consulting who call it coaching, and vice versa. People who coaching and they call it consulting, right? And so when did you make the switch, and do you still do both?
I still do both. I still have a very coaching approach, like self-discovery type of approach and nurturing approach. I will say I kind of made a switch maybe, I don't know, about 10 years ago, so 12 years ago. And for a little while, I think coaching was my focus and kind of turned into my first love.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still do coach consulting. I also do some facilitation as well. But I find all the work is informed by this idea of connecting with people,
Yeah.
being in relationship, and the desire to help people grow.
Awesome. So tell us, let's go ahead, because today we're talking about the Heart-Based Institute. It's a not-for-profit, correct? And so go ahead and tell everybody what that is, and how did it become, why a not-for-profit, and tell the story.
Sure. So I'm on the board of directors recently, within the last couple of years, of the Heart-Based Institute. We've been around since 2003. And it was kind of born out of the desire to share about the spiritual heart.
I'll share my screen so everybody can see it.
Oh, thank you. The share about the spiritual heart. And we have been providing services primarily up to probably a year or so ago to healthcare workers. And so we were working in that space, providing continued education, training, learning, research, and things in that space. But when COVID hit, we felt the desire to to share this more with the world. And so we kind of reorganize ourselves in a way so that we can provide this more from a public spectrum because we feel like well-being, resiliency, I mean, all these things are just something that as humans that we all crave, we all need, we all want. And the heart-based approach is basically an approach that you learned how to connect to your spiritual heart and move into this new way of being where you can experience true heart feelings, which is peace, calmness, lightness, joy, gratitude. And when you're in that space, you show up differently.
Right.
And so it's very.
How long has it been around? I think I did. I think I went to the leadership team. Tell us a little bit about how, who are the gentlemen that founded this, and how long has it been around?
Sure. It's founded by Ed Rubenstein. He's the gentleman on the left. It's founded originally, the name was Heart Sanctuary back in 2003. And so we went through a new naming campaign, probably somewhere in 2010, to rename it to Heart-Based Institute. Jim is our executive director. He's a former executive at Silicon Valley firm back there. And now he came on board maybe about 3 years ago as an executive director. And since then, we've just been kind of growing and flourishing. And we're turning into, interesting enough, like this year, we're turning into a global organization. So we're really kind of focused more nationally. But now we have volunteers all over the world that are guiding people, teaching people how to meditate.
Wow.
And thank you. And this is the Open Heart for Everyone program. This is the program I was going to talk a little bit about later, but I can go into
well,
it now.
we can come back to it. Absolutely. We could come back to it because, I mean, it's a not-for-profit. So I think that's where this is something that coaches can offer for their, I guess you'll get into that, right? I won't stop, I won't start there, but okay, awesome. So, and when, I guess I've missed it. When did it start? When was it founded?
2003.
2003. Okay, so man, 18 years. Okay, fabulous. So how did you get involved with them?
We were all part of the same kind of open heart meditation group. And just through conversations and so forth, you would probably have to ask them better than I why they invited me into the mix.
But you must have fell in love with it, though. I
think part of it is that I served as a well-being officer for 3 years for an organization, and I was doing some kind of like new innovative stuff in terms of like how does an organization work holistically, where it's trying to support a sense felt of well-being for not only their employees, but their suppliers, their clients, their community, and so forth. And so I think that might have been one of the reasons they invited me aboard.
They're ahead of their time a little bit, then, it sounds like, because I mean, really, the heart-centered type approach, and maybe it's just my perception. I mean, I've been in the coaching world since around 2011, and I mean, to have that approach, I guess it seems like they might have been ahead of the curve a little bit to have the holistic approach.
I think you're right. I think, we're kind of living into the moment now, but this is something that's, 20 years ago, there wasn't webinars on this stuff, and it wasn't really well understood or received. But I think now what I'm seeing with organizations, and maybe you're seeing this too, a lot of people are looking for different ways to kind of show up, to kind of be leadership approaches and things. And it's not technique alone is not cutting it. People can read through that, and people are saying, no, we really want people to embody these things. And this is kind of one way to kind of go about that.
It's interesting too, right? Because I think you hear the word authentic, be your true self. I mean, Harry and Meghan, right? They just did the interview and she was talking about her telling her truth. It's interesting because that seems to be a global, what do I want to say? A global way of approaching life. It's really, to your point, it's in walking into that moment right now and being able to have that. I think when you say that you go into organizations, I am curious how, I always found it easier to work with organizations that get why they need coaching versus why I have to convince them, right? When you're going into coaching, when you're going to organizations and you're like, no, really, I call it the love it, you'll love it campaign. You're going to love it. I promise, your people will love, they say they want this. And the CEO is like, no, I just want some stuff that's going to give me results. And so our job is to, bridge that gap, right? Get the people what they want and need and still deliver results. How do you approach this with organizations, or what has been the feedback when you first approach organizations with this?
Well, it's interesting. Like I personally haven't approached organizations. Now, the Heart-Based Institute has worked with organizations, but I've worked with, and I'll speak to some of the organizations I work with, but all of my relationships, and I don't want to speak for a Heart-Based Institute because I can't speak past the point that I joined. started with one-on-one people conversations, right?
Right.
Having that conversation with a leader that cares, that really believes in it, that you don't have to share or sell them on the idea, because they want it already, and they tend to be the champion to bring it into the organization. And so like one organization I'm working with right now, a human workplace, their whole message is less fear, more love, right?
Wow.
And they give organizations, like the keynote speaker, I work with her, right? So Renee Smith, she gives keynote speakers addresses all over the world, and people resonate with that. And people stand up and say, hey, you know what? Can you come to my organization? What can you do? And this is one of the things that we kind of bring forth, is like, well, one thing that you all can do is start establishing new ways of being. Right. And this is one approach to do it. And so these conversations tend to be very natural and easy these days.
Yeah, I suppose, and again, it's timing, perception. Are you finding that it's because well-being, right? The term well-being is at the forefront of every organization right now, and especially if they're recruiting people, you can see it in their recruiting jargon, about how we care for the whole employee and family and well-being. And I think Gallup organization was one of the first to really start talking about and polling companies and talking to them about the state of their well-being and why that matters with engagement. So I think, tell me a little bit more about how you approach the well-being side, and what does that sound like when you're talking with coaches and or organizations?
Yeah. So most folks get the idea that we have to lead with ourselves first, and somehow in the past we left out how we show up matters. Right? Like what we model, how we feel on the inside. And so those conversations really kind of start off with like, okay, what are you doing with your well-being? Right? Tell me a little bit about that. And how often do you kind of check into that? Right? If you're someone that puts it on your calendar, like, is it on your calendar for the week? How often? Is it a thing that gets scoots on the side because something else comes up? So where do you prioritize? And the reason why this is important for leaders to understand and coaches to understand, because that's what's echoed through the organization. And so if you say well-being is important, but your employees experience like, they're going to model what you're doing. If you're a workaholic, they're going to feel like they're going to have to work hard. And they're not going to feel comfortable or safe to go ahead and embrace this side of it. And it shows them a lot of little other different odd ways too. But going back to what you were saying about being authentic, we're kind of in this day and age where you can't sprinkle the cookie crumbs and expect everyone to kind of say, oh, there's a cake. Like that, those times are over, and people are looking for what an experience that follows up with those words.
Yes. Well, and to that point, I think we could sit here and talk about this all morning, or I think you were willing to walk us through a 10-minute experience so we could all experience this, right? And then we could share with everyone who is on here today live, and if you're listening to the recording, how you can find out some more information about adding this to your toolbox. So you're going to be willing to do that still, Derick? Are you prepared to walk us through an experience? So I hope everybody who's on here, if you're listening to this, you know what? Part of showing up and being a good coach is playing, right? If we're going to do the game, you can either be a spectator and watch it, or you can lean in and actually experience it. So shut off your phones and everything else, and let's give this a try. I'm excited. So you can take it from here, Derick. Okay. I'll quit sharing my screen for right now so you can do your thing.
Thank you. So just a little bit of instructions before we begin here, just to orientate ourselves. So I'm going to do this in two parts. The first part is just going to be more to connect and relax our bodies. I think it's safe to say that, especially after the last year, all of us is dealing with at least low-grade chronic stress at this point. And so we'll take a moment to do that, to get a little grounded. It is helpful to, when we go through this, to think of it perhaps more of as a relationship than trying to master a technique.
Okay.
Usually when we think of a technique, we're trying to do something or trying to do our best, and that's becomes counterproductive when you're trying to relax.
Yeah, so don't be trying to learn this right now, just experience it.
Yeah.
Okay.
The second piece, I'm going to ask you to touch your heart in the center of your chest. I'm going to put my screen down so you can see that. And I'll cue you what to do after that. So just to let you know, because and we're just touching your heart just to bring awareness there. So you don't need to press. It's just a light touching just to bring awareness to our spiritual heart. Okay.
Awesome.
Right. And I invite you to take off your glasses and put your feet flat on the floor, and sit back in your back of your chair just so that your back can relax comfortably. And we're just going to take a deep breath in through our nose, out through our mouth, and allow our whole body to relax. Take a deep breath in through our nose, out through our mouth, and allow our whole mind to relax. Take a deep breath in through our nose and out through our mouth. And just allow our whole self to relax. And allow our top of our heads to relax, our foreheads, our eyes, our jaw, allow our whole face, whole head to relax. Allowing our neck to relax, the front, the back, the sides. Allowing our shoulder to relax. And just allowing our whole right arm to relax. And allowing our whole left arm to relax. And then allowing both arms to relax at the same time. And allowing our right leg to relax. Allowing our left leg to relax. And allowing both legs to relax at the same time. Allowing both arms and both legs to relax at the same time. The whole body relax completely at the same time. And we can take our hand, put it gently in the center of our chest, and just smile to your heart. No need to do anything. Just relax. And feel the peace, the calmness, the lightness, joy, whatever positive feelings that show up for you. Just experiencing them and enjoying. Smile into our hearts as we relax even more. Nothing to do. Keep enjoying, keep on smiling, and follow the peace, calmness, feeling of expansion. Yes. Wonderful. Wonderful. Yes. And as we enjoy the positive feelings, realize that this is our connection with the source of unconditional love that lies and connects all of us. Still smiling, still enjoying. Just one more minute. And if something comes up, it's okay. Just relax, smile, and enjoy peace, calmness, lightness, gratitude. And those distractions will go away. 30 more seconds. Still smiling. Still enjoy. Wonderful. Wonderful. Yes. And as you slowly open your eyes, you can still remain and enjoy the light, positive feelings. So, before we go to some sharing, and maybe you have something to share, Shari, before we, but maybe you feel a little different now. And what I hold is, and we know this through all the leadership studies, is that the way we feel inside is broadcast, right? The 80% of the nonverbal communication. So as coaches, we're more heart-centered. We are better able, one, to serve ourselves. We're less likely to have compassion fatigue, burnout, and we're better able to hold space for the people that we're serving in a way that, as one study says, the biggest correlation between patients improving is basically their relationship with their caregiver, their doctors. So not that we're doctors, but as coaches, we do provide a leadership type role, and we do provide a caring type support type role in space. And so with the Heart-Based Institute, and this is going back to the program a little bit, what we have is a 5-week program, 5-session programs, not necessarily weeks, where you can go for free and you can learn not only this practice, but deeper meditations. And so like, I just gave you kind of like a quick 2-minute warm up, but they give you a little longer experience and recordings where you can start holding space from the space. And, you know, like any other practice, it takes time to make that shift, right? But this is what we believe, as humans we're supposed to live as. When we were babies, when we were kids, we were much more carefree, and we weren't so brain dominant. And when you're in your heart and mind can begin to align in a way that's we have less stress. I'll leave it at that. Yeah. But if anyone wants to share their experience, or share, if you want to say a few words.
Well, I'll start. So if everybody wants to think about this, I just had a massage for the first time in a long time over the weekend. The way I just felt now, and I've done meditations before, but I think this is a good reminder of how important it is, because that 10 minutes, I felt the same when I was done after 60 minutes of a massage and feeling relaxed. So it's amazing how if you take that time, and you made me really think too, Derick, and it's a good reminder for all of us, and myself included, busy doing lots of stuff, and I still counsel a few people on the side, and I find myself once in a while, and yesterday was a good example. I found myself, I was in the space with her. I always try to do that, obviously, but now that I'm reflecting on it, I could have been a little bit more present, and doing something like this before I go into that session is going to benefit me moving forward. Going back to some of those basics, and the way, and I was trained in something similar to this, as far as getting set and grounded. So thank you for this reminder, and just, that was awesome. Anybody else want to share with Derick? So thank you. What you felt. I think the other thing is you're very, this will be on the Soar media app. So I might have that clipped out and we can all listen to Derick's voice wherever we go now on the Soar app. So I might just have my our video person take that out, have this piece clipped out. So thank you, Derick. Holly, you wanted to share. Nice to see you, by the way.
Same here. So I have to say I experienced similar, Shari, to what you did. It felt like a massage just sitting here, the relaxation. And I do go for regular massages, so I know how that feels. And it's always something that I look forward to. And I had the exact same thought that you had about clipping Derick and putting him on my... Yeah, we're on the same wavelength. Derick, you have an incredible gift in your voice and your own personal way that you show up, and that calmness. I think that's something that I really need to practice. I would love to be able to do that with clients, because I do have a number of clients that are extraordinarily high strung and just constantly on the edge. And they just need that 10-minute respite so that they can find themselves again and show up as, the whole and loving people that we know that they are. But, the world kind of forces them to take on this crusty persona that isn't really the authentic them. So thank you. That was really lovely, Derick.
That's a joy to share.
And on that note, you can go to theheartbase.org. Underneath, it'd be underneath training, open heart for everyone, and then find a session. Is that right, Derick? Did I do that right?
You did it. You did it right.
Okay, we didn't even practice that.
I know. And I also want to share that there's also guided meditation and more information there, resources and stuff. So there's lots of stuff coming out. Like, this is not even published yet, but we're probably going to start a 10-minute morning meditation series just to start your morning out, right? Just doing something like this, where people can just kind of come in, pop in whenever they can and show up. So, so if this resonates with you, feel free to go to the site and check it out.
Awesome. Anybody else want to share, or they have a question about the program? Here's a Q&A. Let me see, a chat, it just popped up. Amazing resources. Yes, definitely sign up. And let's see here. Anybody else have any questions for Derick about this? Are they done? So they're done by Zoom. And this is once a week for 5 weeks, but that's just the training.
Yeah, and this training, just to kind of just to classify, this training is kind of meant for our own personal training, right?
Yeah.
So for our own kind of experience and well-being. So I just want to clarify, like, this is not
Yeah.
like there's other trainings there too, but this is kind of like a good entryway, I feel, for everyone.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and then they can find out more about, becoming a member of the Heart-Based Institute and becoming, a part of the team, really. Is that what they can find out about all of that on the site, correct?
Yeah. Like, we don't have a membership base yet, like a formal membership. I mean, you could sign up to a newsletter to get informed and things of that sort, but we're in the process. Like I said, this COVID-19 has kind of thrust us into, and we're still scaling up to this whole new global approach or mission that's been asked of us.
Fabulous. Well, I'm excited. Well, I'm excited for you guys to do more. And again, the fact that it's a not-for-profit and to even be a part of this and to help you guys grow any way we can, that, that's part of Soar's mission, is to uplift humanity, which is, again, why Derick and I said that there's we have some symbiotic things that are probably going on and with people that we don't even know yet. So I encourage everybody to go there, check this out, go through the training. There's some good studies on here as well, which I love anything for good studies. This one's on how the brain is wired, if I'm understanding correctly. So great studies there. You can go find out some more information as well. And then, of course, donate to them as well. You can do that. Anybody else have any other questions? Yeah, right. I am going to clip it. So now, Derick, we might have to make this, we'll start charging 99 cents for the download. No, I'm just kidding. We'll give all the donations to the Heart-Based Institute. Well, you'll have to give this to, the founders, tell them thank you for what they're doing. And if anybody, Derick, how can people get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you? I know you have a profile on Soar, of course.
Yeah, I still got to complete that. So new member there at Soar, but you can reach me at Derick@heartcenteredcoaching.org. That's just kind of my own personal private practice where I offer coaching for folks that are interested in being in the heart space as they're being coached.
Yeah, and if you're looking for coaching, man, I'd hire Derick. He's just got that calmness. Whenever I've had coaches in the past, I always look for people who have the opposite personality as me, because that's what I need in my life. So Derick, you've got to vote for me. So anybody who's listening to this, Derick Carter. Awesome. Any other comments? I mean, I feel good. I don't know. At first I thought, oh my gosh, I got up early this morning. I was like, oh, I'm going to fall asleep. I will tell you this. I got hypnotized one time. And, like on one of those stages. And I was like, oh, nobody can ever, I won't be hypnotized. Nobody could do that to me. I was the first one out. I was like, my head was down between my knees. They had to let me off stage because I was so out. So now I know I can do 10 minutes and just really get into it. And once I did that, I was like, okay, I can actually zone out for 10 minutes. I just need to do it more. And I think what you guys are doing is so important for the world right now. So, well, thank you so much. Derick, you want to offer anything else to any other questions for him? Ask him, or Derick, do you want to share anything else with everybody?
So I will share this. 20 years ago, I wasn't this calm.
So it works.
Even 10 years ago, where I started out, I wasn't this calm. So this has been kind of a journey, and you're kind of seeing the fruits of that journey. Even I have a 16-year-old daughter, and she's like, "Yeah, you're a lot different than I remember when I was younger. Why don't my younger brother and sister have to deal?" So I'm kind of evidence of that. And so, like, I can really relate to Holly when you were saying you had some high-strung clients. I would have been one of those back then. So just.
So it works. But I think what Holly said is important, right? Like, I think as coaches, sometimes we forget to use tools such as meditation And we get so into the tactics of that we forget just sometimes just being present and giving them space and walking them through just a moment of, breathing and getting centered is so important. And I think there's so many things as coaches, there's so many techniques and everything, as you said, Derick, that are available to us. So being able to just be is one technique or one awareness I think we could all be reminded of to use, and just every day that's probably what many of our clients need more than other things on some days. Well, fabulous. Well, Marie, thank you for joining us all the way from Germany and everywhere else around the world. We are so glad that you guys join us for Coach Uplift Weekly. Next week, we have a fabulous guest as well. He's written a book and he's traveled around the world speaking. He's going to be on next week, so you're going to want to look for that. In fact, I think I'm booked up. I think we've got him pretty well booked up. April 1st, we have a gentleman that's going to be also doing a demonstration of an NLP tactic and how NLP is on April 1st. So we have some great guests coming up, and we just appreciate everybody tuning in, sharing this. It's free as well. We just want to help all of us become better at what we do in our craft. And remember to download the app at the Soar, at your Apple Store or your Google Play Store, the Soar Media app, and you can listen to all kinds of things. In fact, we've uploaded some new content this week, so go check that out. And Derick, thank you so much for your time leading us through that. And everybody, please go check out the Heart-Based Institute at heartbased.org. And we will see you all next week. Bye, everyone.
Thank you all. Bye.